you know, to beat. Jurak Megalo, definitely an amazing card. We have seen how it unlocks plays during the opponent's turn, and in this case, it seems like it's gonna resolve. Usually it's played as a way to access Jurak Meteor, but George is not gonna waste any time around, and of course, as expected, we do see some reading from Aleksandar as well. Doesn't seem like it was the best opener for the national champion, and going first, at least gonna have to try and make use of this Fuva loss, but I am pretty sure now he knows what he's up against, because if some of the newer cards are a bit unknown, Train has seen some success at the highest competitive level, and it's definitely known for being quite the aggressive strategy. So let's just see.
Yeah, here you can tell that you know, he's just trying to explain his opponent a little bit of the effects of these cards. It's you know, in general, I really feel like it's you know, very interesting to see the these approaches being brought at the European Championship, especially because you know, Trains, the deck we have seen it also as well. Sometimes it's very interesting to see how it's gonna be to be unfolded, because
yeah, and this is quite the unique effect, because they get to play this sort of chicken game, I would say, 3 times in a row. And as you can see, George gets to add a lot of cards to his hand, given that the average attack of its monsters is gonna be insanely high. So time to choose a last card, and oh no, change of mind at the last second, and yeah, it's gonna be the Garunix. Yeah, just making sure to understand all the possible locks or limitations that his opponent's deck has.
And here also comes Pot of Sloth, which you know, has recently been released from Chaos Origin, and you know, gives, of course, consistency to the deck. I think it's really one of those cards that we will be seeing a lot during this weekend, especially because if it's not in the main deck, it's going to be for sure in the side deck of our duelist. It's just a card that is it's too good. It just allows you essentially to, you know, rewind and draw into new cards, which are going to really, you know, unlock you, and just such a new addition that the card is great. So here is going to be adding the field spell, the switch yard, to the hand, and is going to use it right away. And here is also good because it's using the second effect, so essentially it gets to discard 1 card from the hand to graveyard to add a level 10 machine type monsters from the deck to the hand.
Yeah, George at the moment pretty much free to do whatever he wants, even though he started things off with the subspace battle. You could see the confusion from Aleksandar because although it destroys the monsters, so it could be really, really bad to play against Fire King. The last line of text says that you cannot activate the effect of monsters with those names, so not quite but still it's good to set up the Garunix for later. Anyways, now we start things off with more of you know, the traditional opener from the train deck using urgent schedule. I don't know if we have much of a response here from Aleksandar at all.
Doesn't seem like it, honestly. You know, it's then this is like super scary, because if George manages just to extend this even further, then you know, train has really the advantage of just sealing the game very easily.
Absolutely, you can do so much damage. Let's see. We do have the Jurak, and yeah, we're finally gonna use the Jurak. About time to go into the pop from Meteor. Let's see if, I mean, George knew about this, so
yeah, in general, when you're playing against Fire King, you also have to remember this, because every single interruption sometimes is just, you know, important, and there's certainly cards that you have to keep in mind, and here is just going to extend this even further.
yeah, I mean, he knew from the start that the Meteor was there, so he only had to find a way to force it and then still play. But we see one of the cards picked up from the Fuvalos, which is the Infinite Impermanence, to shut things down. But still not quite enough to stop George in his tracks, which is just gonna summon back a lot of these level 10 monsters, able to access his extra deck if he feels like it. You can see him asking how many cards are in the end, doing some math on how he wants to push damage forward. And yeah, here comes the first Xyz. Into the Gustav Max.
I think this could be it, because let's see if Aleksandar here has any response. Doesn't seem like it. He's just thinking about it. What did he draw into with the Fuvalos? Did he draw any pieces? Okay.
He did Kirin, double Kirin. George asking about the effects.
Yeah, and he's going to destroy the Gustav Max.
Yeah, really good pickup. At the same time, now this allows us to use the Citadel, because our face-up monster was destroyed. So we can just make a second one, because that's in the extra deck. And you can see Aleksandar and George both having a laugh at it. Gonna burn for 2000. Yep. Putting Aleksandar down to 4500.
Yeah, here I think George really needs to understand if and how he can
yeah,
potentially close this one out
Ooh, and we do have the other Machina monster in the Ruin Force. It seems like this will be it for Aleksandar if there is nothing else. Let's see, one draw. It's the impulse, but this might just be a little bit too late. Heh. A lot of explaining here, and gonna have a read.
It's the gaming gamer, yeah, that is being summoned. And yeah, it has a nice effect. Essentially, you can change the battle position of all monsters your opponent controls to attack position.
And then you can upgrade it.
And I think, okay, yeah, he needs to draw another card for the Fuvalos, but I think really Georgia is navigating this very, very well, playing through Fuvalos, the Impermanence, and here as well, it also comes the Juggernaut Liebe. Yeah, by detaching one card, essentially gains 2000 attack.
Yeah.
But need to keep in mind that it needs to declare attack only with this card. But the thing is that during each battle phase, the card can attack monsters up to number until he has +1. So you can
Pretty much enough.
Yeah.
So let's see, unless there is a surprise here, this will be it, and it is enough indeed. George is able to win, going second, beating the Fire King deck, and our Croatian national champion is defeated here in game one. Gonna be a bit of a rough duel to start things off. I mean, we gotta say the end was quite poor. We saw only the Miscellaneosaurus, but there was no other way to play the game, and you know, it just passed on that. And you know, many decks can punish you, and if there is one that can inflict a lot of damage, for sure, that is Train. And now, you know, it will be interesting to see what he does, because that's for sure not a deck that you have prepared for. What do you even, you know, do after side decking?
That's the thing. It's very difficult, especially because, yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, he really had a very slow hand. On the other side, of course, you know, Simon was able to essentially take advantage of this, and I mean, of course, with the Train deck, you're able to seal the game, you know, very quickly. But yeah, talking about the side deck, I'm not sure, because like also if you're Simon, you don't really have specific cards to play against Fire King. He's quite prepared to play against most of the current decks of the format. But it will be very interesting to see, especially, you know, Aleksandar now going first. That is a combo deck, so you don't really want to overside decking. But
let's see. I mean, it's gonna be a close one. Hopefully, it draws a more playable end. But in the meantime, as we can see, our little friends that are hard to not notice with us are these amazing Scapegoat RT bags, which you can find here at the European Championship at the Gatherers Taverns booth. So make sure to go and check them out. They have a lot of amazing designs, and we are all fans. So we will also try to get one home with us at the end. So without further ado, though, our players are ready. Can we have the first upset of the national champions, or are we gonna go a game 3? Let's see. Okay, first and foremost, okay, is that island? Maybe I'm trying to take a look at the end. Okay, it's Sanctuary regardless, so we do have a way to play the game, which is great news. Let's see if this island will resolve, which is step 2.
Not bad.
It does. Wow. And it's the art drone Michelano. So yeah, this is definitely a whole other territory. Do we see end traps for George? Let's take a look at his deck list real quick.
There's Fuvalos.
We do have mostly field breakers, I gotta say. Not many end traps. A lot of spells, so I would expect him to maybe wait it out unless we see some surprises from the side deck, and then play it on his own turn with cards like Droplet, Lightning Storm, and so on. But again, this deck in Fire King could be a tough one to interrupt because they have other ways to play the game. They can set up as they will again the Meteor during the turn of George, but at least for now Aleksandar can be happy. He's playing the game and he has pretty much all the tools he needs to set up a pretty threatening state. So let's see where he wants to go with this.
Yeah, this is far better start compared to game 1. There's so much gas to the deck. And it'll be very interesting to see how he can further extend this. This is the Silent Wolf.
We have seen the combo from Johannes in the previous round with the Firewall Dragon to get back the Ash Blossom, but if you do open Ash, the Sunlight Wolf is very conveniently and much cheaper to do the same thing. And as we mentioned, we can just try and go and set up this Meteor for next turn. But I gotta say, there is one card in the main deck actually for George that brings back a lot of sweet memories for me, and that I am hoping we are gonna see. And spoilers alert, it involves a type of extra deck monster that is not Xyz.
I didn't see that.
Good old days.
Huh.
And yeah, as predicted, we have set up the Meteor, and if I'm not mistaken, I think we just passed. So George just asking for some confirmation, and yes, indeed, he's gonna pick up his card. Let's see if we have some of these field breakers.
It's also nice to see the rank Bali being out in the field, essentially. You can negate the activation.
Yeah, it's actually really good. And here also, if you have a good memory from Aleksandar, wow, we let this resolve. I was saying, if we have a good memory, we saw that with this subspace battle, George can access Kaijus. And so if you don't negate it, it pretty much means that then they can get rid of your interruption.
Yeah, I mean, I really felt like this was the moment to use the rank Bali, just because otherwise you will not be getting a chance to do so. Yeah, there's the Kaiju, so it's I think he added 3 of them. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and the thing is, again, even though you cannot use the effects you can summon kaijus, because that's not an effect. And that can get rid of the rank ball. And indeed,
Right.
that is the case. A bit surprised by this decision, honestly, from Aleksandar. Unless you want to just, yeah, I think he's gonna just try and summon it back, but it's still a bit risky.
Yeah, because doing like this, I mean, you would have negated the spell anyways, you know, so you would have not gotten to this point. Still, it's not looking too bad for Aleksandar, honestly.
Yeah, now we are gonna summon back the on ball. Yep.
Is it once per turn?
Yeah, but we haven't used anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is once.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I guess there is some merit in both. Whether we wanna save and negate the subspace, but in this case, decided not to go for it. And now George needs to play through this spell and trap interruption.
It's not going to be easy at all, honestly, for George to deal with this. Let's see where it starts. It starts with the field spell. If you're Aleksandar, though, when do you start thinking you could activate your interruption? Because you have the Beggar here on the field.
I don't know how
Is he
much you
using
can
this?
wait, honestly. Yeah, especially when you don't know a deck. The trend, I would say, for most players is to just negate the first cards and hope that gets you there. And we could see that here as well.
Is he allowing this? Oh, yeah, he did. Wow, okay.
Let's keep in mind that the field is not all that matters for Aleksandar. He still has a couple of interruptions in the graveyard with both the Promethean Princess and the Jurak Meteor threat. So George still has quite a lot of work to do to break through this. Here comes the setup of the Citadel, which I'm pretty sure now Aleksandar has learned from the previous game that he must keep in mind, because if he destroys one of the Air Machine monsters, it can come back. But I think
You probably didn't negate this Witch here, though. Because I don't know, I felt like you could have negated it. Because if you're still waiting now...
Oh, and we have a second copy of the Kaiju, which conveniently is level 10. must keep in mind that this is also a very strong Zeus deck. But here we see, for the meantime, an unknown card in Infinite Impermanence from Aleksandar. To stop this launcher. George really doesn't want to leave anything to chance. I think we also know the quick spell face down, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, with the flying launcher, essentially, so if the card is XYZ summon, you can hold one Earth Machine monster from your deck to your hand. And then you can detach any number of materials from the card to target that many spell traps on the field and destroy them.
And that was negated.
Here, once again, I think the Machina Ruin Force has been summoned.
Yep. This is also quite the powerhouse, having, as you can see, 4,600 attack.
And yeah, here comes the Garonix Eternity.
Yep.
Which is going to destroy all other monsters on the field when it gets Exquisite Summon.
And again, still we have quite a few interruptions from Aleksandar. And yeah, this was known, but gets to resolve. Trying to take a look at the cards. I think we still have 3 cards in the end of George. Yeah, and the crazy part I was just taking a look at is that I'm pretty sure you can summon back Machina Ruin Force, because it's not once per turn the summon, it's only the effects.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just summon that back. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what Aleksandar is reading. The card is great, honestly, because every
really
single
good.
time you're using it, then you can just attach this other material, then it goes to the graveyard, and then it comes back, essentially. So.
Aleksandar gonna clear it once more.
Yeah, and it's great because if the card is a Strawberry Battle card effect, essentially you get to special summon up to 3 of your Machina banished monster. So
Yeah.
you get the Citadel back.
And again, pushing and pushing and pushing. George, as mentioned, keeps on finding way to push forward, but we do have the Jurak. And I think this is where we pull the trigger. And yes, indeed, Aleksandar going for the final defensive push with this Jurak Meteor and clearing the whole field from every single card out there, including Spell and Traps. What a turn of events, though. Regardless, George did incredible to clear the whole field and force out all these different activations.
Yeah, essentially he forced all of them, and I think he really did what he could, and it was just a great show from him. Let's see if he has even more. What a resilient game here from George, essentially just trying to navigate through all of Aleksandar's interruptions here. It's been great to watch this. Let's see if he can also continue this.
Yeah, because this is now it. I mean, we have thrown so many different interruptions at George. If he really has still enough, I mean, what can you even do if you are Aleksandar? At the worst, you know, you can bring back a couple of cars. I think you still have the Ruin Force. I mean, it's gonna be close because the Ruin Force plus Cannon, I'm pretty sure is enough.
No.
Oh, but
yeah.
see a bit of confusion. They're just going through the different effects, clarifying.
Yeah, because essentially with the Astero you can banish 2 Jurak monsters from your graveyard, including the card, to special summon 1 Jurak Meteor from the extra deck, which will be treated as a synchro special summon. I think here they're just clarifying this with our judges at the table, so the way this ended. Yeah, and this is what must have happened. Essentially, the Asteros banished itself, and then the Meteor got summoned.
And you can get the Ash Blossom back in defense, just to try and protect your life points a little bit. Even though we know that if we can access the rank 4, it's gonna switch it to attack position. But once more, this Ruin Force making the 3rd appearance in this duel.
Yeah, the fact that the card can be special summoned as many times as possible, essentially, it's just great because it needs, you know, comes back, gets XYZ summoned, then it gets detached, comes back to the graveyard. And if you think about it, it's crazy that George played through all of Aleksandar's interactions and 2 Jurak Meteors, which, you know.
Was that it?
I think he entered battle phase,
Yeah. Not quite impressive stuff by George, but this time around Aleksandar was able to hang on in there, and that changes everything, because if you invest so much but then you're not able to close it out, you can get punished by the Fire King deck. We are gonna get back the Ponix. They are trying to remember whether it was destroyed, I guess. Because these were the cars that were sent from the subspace battle.
Yeah, once the reinforce gets sent to the graveyard, essentially you can, as mentioned, bring back machine monster that is being banished.
Yeah, we've mentioned that the Fire King deck lines up really well against Subspace Battle, because although the card says that you cannot activate the effects of the revealed monster, that's only valid for the turn in which the spell is activated, and the Fire King monsters instead trigger during the next turn. So in this case, Aleksandar is able to use both Garunix and Ponix. Yeah, I mean, at this point, it seems like the Croatian national champion has turned the tide of this duel. And now it becomes a question of time, because George, I'm pretty sure, thought he could win this and didn't pay attention maybe to that detail, but 13 minutes don't seem like it's a comfortable amount of time to close out game 3. And if I was him, I would start, you know, at least considering the idea of picking up the cards and trying to go for a game 3, because of course no one wants this to end in a double loss. But I mean, maybe he feels like he still has a chance.
Yeah, I mean, with 12 minutes remaining, honestly, you really need to consider that, because you would like to avoid the double loss as much as possible. At the same time, maybe it really feels like he could still have a chance, although I feel like, you know, Aleksandar really has enough, and indeed, yes, it's gonna be 1-1.
What a duel. Wow. I mean, we mentioned in the pre-match discussion how this deck lines up, you know, in an extremely interesting way, one against the other. One very defensive, one very aggressive, lots of interaction, lots of, you know, what makes Yu-Gi-Oh! A great game, and they really are giving us a show. At this point, again, the only concern really is time, because 12 minutes ain't a lot. And it will be also interesting to see what we are gonna see from this duelist. Is it gonna be a going second strategy after siding, maybe, where Aleksandar doesn't expect it and George decides to go second? That's also something quite interesting to look at, I guess. But as we can see, George, lightning speed, doesn't want to lose this one in time and is already done with his deck.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very interesting match, especially because, as mentioned, we got a lot of different decks in action. And once again, you know, seeing, you know, this kind of matchup is really interesting, especially because when you bring such a different deck compared to the current format you expect to play against the meta game. And then, you know, it's a showcase, especially because we saw that Boropower Duel is a super prepared. Aleksandar also as well, he was just sitting there very patiently on the other side. I really feel like the train deck is consistent, is resilient, and, you know, this game 3, you know, let's hope to see, you know, a winner out of this match.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
You know,
they are both deserving. Of course, Aleksandar, as mentioned, national champion in his own right, but up against one of the most interesting decks we have seen, probably the most interesting today. So let's give it a go. Let's hope we end up with the winner. Let's go to the final game. Here we are.
Oh, we let him go first. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting this, honestly. The deck is built for going second, as we have seen. The question is, did Aleksandar realize? You might have noticed a slight increase in the timer, and that was because of a lot of you know, translation and effects that were asked between the players. So a couple minutes were added, which I think no one is complaining about. And let's see. Ooh, we see Droll and Lockbird from George coming out of the side deck, I believe. Yeah. And definitely an interesting inclusion.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like against Franking is okay.
I mean, it can be. It depends a lot on the end. It's not great, let's say. In some ends, it can be good. But overall, can be a bit underwhelming. Good news for Aleksandar is we had access to the at least the Jurek Meteor already. So let's see what he wants to end up on. Time is of the essence.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that both of our duelists, Zach, required time to go through their combos, and especially because, you know, the train deck as well, the resilience of the deck is incredible. Like, it's one of those decks that never gives up. And here comes the footballers going to trigger their Sandal of Wolf.
Yeah. Quite the unusual, normal, but I think this tells us that Aleksandar was caught off guard. He didn't expect his opponent to be going second, and it can show a bit of an inexperience against a deck that I really don't blame him. Isn't that popular. Now we'll see the alternate version, as we have in the past, of the Promethean Princess. And okay, we were about to link summon yet again. Well, maybe a change of heart.
Did Aleksandar pass? I think he did.
Yeah, he's asking. I don't know, just clarifying. A bit of talking in this match. But yeah, it's a pass. So now George gets to play, and I mean, it worked out. This is quite the underwhelming,
again.
And we start things off again with the subspace battle. You can see both players laughing it out.
Yeah, that's been the card for sure of the match. It's always been there, helping him out. We saw how powerful the card is, essentially allowing him to take the kaijus and essentially shutting down his opponent's strategy.
Yeah, I mean, this should be a bit of a formality at this point. They have done this in every single game. So, gonna go and grab 2 kaijus, and let's see the third card. It's going to be... okay, just a train. And now George knows that he needs to play fast to close this one out.
I mean, I think it's doable.
Yeah, I mean, I would be shocked if not. Like if you think about the last game, he completely cleared what were Impermanent, Skyburn,
Meteor,
the rank 8, the Meteor, then there was the Promethean Princess in the graveyard, and as well the rank ball to negate a spell and trap. So it was like
7, 8 interruptions,
you know,
like this.
So many interruptions. In this case, it's quite underwhelming. And if the end is decent from George, we should have a pretty easy time. But we see the draw and lock bird from Aleksandar as well, returning the favor.
Yeah, it really depends on George's hand at this point, because of being under draw and lock. Let's see. To go for next card, what is gonna be? Yes, thinking about it.
Yeah, draw. It's gonna be tough. We go for the Kaiju on Wolf. And then this way we can summon our own Kaiju. Again, that's extremely convenient since it's a level 10 machine monster. And yeah, let's see.
And yeah, here once again we saw what we witnessed in game 2 as well, the interruption from the Astero from the graveyard being banished, bringing the Meteor onto the field. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, again, 5 minutes remain.
Yeah, that's a very tough spot, because George won't have much time essentially. He's also under drawn and lock, that will be reminded.
Yeah, and I mean, having double access to the Meteor with drawn and lock being active would be extremely challenging for any deck, really. Oh, what a crazy card.
Was it a pass?
You think so?
I think so.
Wow. Really?
I think George passed. Yeah, it could really be that
in the game that matters the most.
Yeah, they're under drawn and lock. He couldn't do anything with the cards that he drew.
It's very, very unfortunate for our train player. Yeah, you can see him just not, shaking his head, thinking about the draw. And unfortunately, after what, though, has been an amazing match, it really seems like Aleksandar should be able to take this in less than 4 minutes.
Yeah, I think here it's just going to be a matter of, trying to understand and seal the game out, because George seemed really hopeless.
And I mean, this is pretty much already enough damage to push through. So unless there is a surprise, I think we're just going to enter battle phase. Is there anything? That is it. Aleksandar takes it. Or maybe, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the last second they were just asking confirmation on damage, but he does takes it indeed. And so after losing game one, our Croatian national champion moves on undefeated after as